Now, the first in a series of special reports.
Hey man, y'all heard any gunshots?
On patrol with Lafayette Police, with access like never before.
Apparently they were shooting across the street.
This is Shots Fired, Gun Crimes by the Numbers. In this series, we're looking at the city of Lafayette. Last year, Lafayette had 20 homicides, 19 involved guns. It was the deadliest in at least 5 years, and so far 2016 is on pace with those numbers: 9 homicides, 7 with guns. This is part of a project with ABC News and affiliates across the country. It's something we started working on before the shootings last week. The goal, to look at one specific week of gun crimes across America. Here is just the beginning of what we saw in Lafayette. On this Saturday night in June, Lafayette police are rushing to the scene of a shooting on North Buchanan Street.
Who shot you, man? A young kid?
There, on the ground, in front of a car, a man who's been shot, bleeding from his legs.
What kind of vehicle was it, man? Huh?
It wasn't a vehicle.
They on foot? They on foot. Hold on. What they look like? Huh?
Like a dread, shortcut red shirt.
Some youngsters, one of them has a red shirt. He said they took off running.
He was shot across the street and ran to this house for cover.
You gonna a knapsack across the street, a black one? Make sure that's the victim's knapsack. Apparently that's where it happened at.
A perimeter goes up as the investigation begins by flashlight. The entire area searched step by step. We researched the numbers on shooting investigations just like this one. We uncovered in the first half of this year, Lafayette police have investigated 80 shootings. That's down from 89 last year.
They were chasing you, man.
On Buchanan Street, medics arrive on scene, stabilize the patient who's been shot at least 4 times, mostly in the legs.
You ever seen him before?
Sergeant Aaron Thibodeau trying to get as much information as possible with a shooter or shooters on the loose. The victim was treated for non-life-threatening injuries. So far, no arrests have been made. And gun crimes don't always involve actual shootings. Tomorrow night, more of what we saw, including some of the 22 calls for that week for shots fired.
Oh, I don't have no gun.
I ain't got no gun. They shot at us.
I know it.
I understand that.
Calm down.
Shots fired. When it comes to gun crimes, these are the calls Lafayette police deal with the most. Tonight, part 2 of our investigation. This series is focusing on gun crimes, a term that includes shootings, armed robbery, illegal carry, but also shots fired.
Are they actively following you?
It's a Friday night in June. We're out on patrol with Sergeant Edward Washington, a 22-year veteran of the Lafayette Police Department.
10-4.
140, same traffic.
It isn't long before we're out on the first call for shots fired.
I mean, this could be a running gun battle. This can be a domestic situation. This can be a robbery that went bad, a drug deal that went bad. So, you know, you never know.
With the sun setting, Sergeant Washington is setting out into the neighborhood looking for a shooter.
They got to pop out somewhere.
Hey, man, y'all heard any gunshots?
His eyes scan breaks in tree lines, spaces in between houses.
They know in order for the police to get to them, we got to go all the way around.
But nothing is found. As night settles, there will be more calls like this. This particular week, while on patrol, Lafayette police responded to 25 calls involving gun crimes, 22 for shots fired. Looking at the first half of this year, police responded to 550 calls involving gun crimes, 374 for shots fired. In only 13 of those cases, someone was arrested or given a ticket. The next night, on patrol with Sergeant Aaron Thibodeau, we see even more.
It's almost a affair. We get some kind of call relating to shots fired or something involving some type of firearm or something.
In the middle. You should be in the field. It's a black male, young black male.
This call, a fight. One of the suspects pulled out a gun and ran.
Shirt, gray shorts, and I'm pretty sure he had a 95 golf one.
We need somebody on the railroad tracks. That's probably where he's going to run.
Later, shots fired.
Apparently they were shooting across the street, maybe at each 2 different groups, and some of the rounds came this way and hit this guy's truck.
A truck is hit. Several casings found on scene. And then a bigger scene. West Foch Street glowing with police lights. These women saying other women in a car started shooting at them.
I wish I had that whole license plate, y'all. I ain't even lying. My nephew was
Y'all know this girl? She's from here?
My name is Melissa.
Let me go right there. Let me go down the corner.
Yeah, y'all go get
Around the corner at a gas station.
They might as well take me to jail, right?
So what happened? What happened to
They
y'all?
jumped us. We're not even much from out here, sir.
Officers find 2 women and a vehicle
Hold on.
with a bullet hole in the rear window.
But they shot at her while she was leaving.
But these women telling a different story, saying someone shot at them.
We got 2 sides. We're trying to figure out the truth.
Back on West Foch, the street riddled with shell casings, a total of 12 coming from 3 different weapons, and here a different story.
So y'all didn't see who was shooting?
No, we ran. Real stuff, we ran. I grabbed my child and we ran. She was shooting for sure. And I ran and I was on the phone with the cops.
See if it's possible y'all can get permission to look in that car, because we got more than one person over here saying that the driver actually, she also had a gun on her and she fired some rounds.
At the gas station, officers found a gun in the vehicle. A woman inside the car for illegal discharge. No other suspects have been arrested. The investigation is ongoing.
I'm sure it would have taken them a while to get there.
Tomorrow night in part 3, we go back out into the neighborhoods, talking to the people who are affected by these crimes, and more analysis, including how many times Lafayette police are called out for gun crimes each day. The answer tomorrow night right here at 10.
But there's a lot of hatred. That's what's going on. And it has to stop.
Tonight, bringing you into the communities affected by gun violence in our final part of Shots Fired. We uncovered in the first half of this year 75% of the gun crime calls in Lafayette are in precincts 1 and 4, which include downtown and the north side. Tonight, the people affected and the numbers behind the crimes. Here on West Foch Street, there are still signs of the scene from days earlier.
Yes.
Were you afraid?
Yes, I was very afraid. Very, very afraid.
It was here where police were called for shots fired. They found 12 bullet casings in the street coming from 3 different guns.
Oh, they shot the back glass off.
A block away, a car with a bullet hole and conflicting stories about who opened fire.
They shot at us. I know it.
I understand that.
Oh, I don't have no gun. I ain't got no gun.
The shooting happened outside Angela Johnson's house.
I mean, I was so horrified, and I was in the house. I went to the bathroom, you know, just to keep safe, for my sake.
Johnson says she's had enough for good reason.
I stopped going to funerals because it just hurts me so bad, really.
Have you lost friends to violence?
I lost a lot of friends and family members to violence, yes.
Last year was especially violent when it comes to gun crimes. 20 homicides in Lafayette, the most in at least 5 years, 19 involving guns. So far this year, 9 homicides, 7 with guns. There are an average of 3 calls for gun crimes every day in Lafayette, 21 per week. Putting those numbers in perspective, that's 4.3 calls for every 1,000 people. New Orleans, a city sometimes notorious for gun violence, gets 4.8 calls for every 1,000 residents.
We don't want to bury one of our kids.
Back in Lafayette, on West Foch, Angela Johnson says she's lucky, but can't help but wonder, what if?
What if anyone would have got shot? Then, I mean, it would have just been another funeral.
The shooting was unnerving for others on Foch Street, like Brian Taylor.
I was sitting in my living room. I could see and hear everything.
What was that like?
The 4th of July. Yeah, to say the least. It sounded like the 4th of July. I heard a lot of people screaming and a lot of commotion.
These neighbors joining countless other Americans in asking why. What is the solution?
And it has to stop. Somebody could have really get killed. One of those kids, the neighbors. It has to stop somewhere. It has to.
Over on KATC.com, you'll find an interactive map tonight showing the 25 gun crimes that occurred for the week we focused on in this special. You can hover over the icons to learn more about each incident there. And Shots Fired is part of a project with ABC News and affiliates across the country. You can see more tomorrow night on Nightline right here on KATC.